Hey, what's up you guys? It's Danny Arajo again. So, apologies for not uploading last week. I actually adopted a child. It's small and sweet and cute and has 4 legs and his name is Grayson and I love him so much. My apartment complex actually pitched the biggest fit that you've ever seen about us actually getting a dog, so we had a lot of hoops to jump through, but he's here now and I love him. So in keeping with the Halloween spirit that I have going on this channel for the month of October, I wanted to tell you guys one of my paranormal stories. I even broke out my spooky ghost earrings.
Aren't you super scared? He's gonna sneak into your house and eat all your candy.
Anyway, I'm not gonna keep you in suspense, so get your popcorn, dim the lights, let's get started. So I was born in Ohio and I lived in Ohio until I was 4. And back east, my mom's family lives out there. So in Michigan, actually the state right next to Ohio, lived my grandmother, my grandpa, and my grandmother's mother herself, my great-grandma Kingsley. So we'd drive a state over to visit family, and let me preface this, my grandma Kingsley was short, she was a little hunched over, she was super sassy, and kids were terrified of her. But for whatever reason, I personally wasn't scared of her. Whenever we went over, I would march my chubby butt over there. I would grab this Disney alphabet book, I would give it to her, I'd make her sit in this armchair, and I would sit on her lap and make her read to me every time I went over. So it was this ritual that every time we went over, she would have to read to me, and that got me really jazzed up about reading and writing, and that's honestly a big reason as to why I'm in college to be a writer. So we did this many times and I really grew to love her until she unfortunately passed when I was 4 years old. And that's actually one of my first memories, was my mother telling me at our little kitchen table that she had died, which, you know, that's a really good way to start my life. That's the best memory that I wanted to start out with. But just as she was this vigorous, energetic person as she was in life, when she passed away, it's like she carried it with her in her death. So hold on, because shit's about to get really weird. So my mom actually told me this part of the story a few years later when I was old enough to understand it. She told me about this time when my grandma Kingsley was alive. She had this car and she didn't really use it, she didn't really drive, but my relatives really wanted it. And they kept telling her, you should give us the car, you should give us the car, you should leave us the car in your will, we want the car. And this woman was so obstinate, she was so stubborn that she outright told them, I would rather that car burn to the ground than you have it. So yeah, she was like really pleasant. So naturally after she passed away, she had family cleaning out the house, allocating what possessions go to who, and those relatives showed up and they ended up taking the car. So they got the car and they were driving it home, and as they're driving it down the road, they feel that it's getting really hot. So the car is getting hotter and hotter, and eventually it gets so hot that they have to pull over and get out. They can't physically be in the car anymore. So they're standing on the side of the road, they're looking at the car, they're trying to figure out what's going on. As they're standing there watching the car ignited. Out of literally nowhere, the car just sets itself on fire. The fire like carried itself over the car, and all they could do was stand there and watch as for no reason the car just starts erupting into flames. So by the time the fire finally smoldered out, there was virtually nothing left of the car. It had completely melted, it had burned itself to the ground. So yeah, an introduction to her furious and powerful spirit. And vengeful, don't forget vengeful. So as the years went on, we quickly moved out of Ohio across the country, and I guess when we did that, Grandma Kingsley kind of came with us. So things were quiet for a few years. Actually, the majority of the time we were all the way out here, nothing really happened. Until this one night. I was probably 12 years old at the time, and I shared both a room and a bed with my little sister. And my little sister has been, she still is, a very light sleeper. And at the time, I really wasn't. I was kind of chubby and I was a really heavy sleeper. So the fact that this happened is actually really weird. So one night I was sleeping, heavily of course, and I noticed at some point that someone is trying to shake me awake. I don't suffer from like night terrors or sleep paralysis or anything, so if someone's actually physically trying to wake me up, I'm gonna feel that. Like, it's not like I'm making it up in my head, that's something that's actually happening in real life. So I feel myself being shaken awake, and so I kind of drift into that place between awake and asleep. So I'm kind of groggily coming to, you know, like what's happening, trying to figure out what's going on, and it happens again. And at this point I become fully conscious and aware of what's going on, and I realize that it's not someone physically shaking me, it's like someone is shaking the bed. It's like someone was standing at the very end of the bed on my side, put both of their hands on it, and was shaking it vigorously back and forth. So it shook for a minute and then it stopped. So I'm laying there trying to wrap my head around what exactly happened, and then it happens again. So at this point, I'm fully conscious, so my eyes shoot open and I look to the edge of the bed, and there's no one there. So immediately I turn to my sister and I see that she is dead ass asleep. And that's really weird because she's a light sleeper and I'm a heavy sleeper, so why is something on my edge of the bed trying to wake me up? And that's really what it felt like. You know, if you're trying to wake someone up, you're gonna like prod them for a minute, like, psst, and then you like come back and you wait to see if they wake up, and then psst, you do it again a little bit harder. That's what it felt like, only it was shaking the bed. It was like kind of light, and then it waited to see what I did, and then it did it again but a little harder, and finally that third time, I don't know how my little sister didn't wake up because it just jolted me awake. So at this point, I'm fully awake, I'm just laying there, it's quiet, it's dark, there's nobody in there, and I get this feeling that it's my Grandma Kingsley. And you know, I really can't explain it unless you yourself have felt it. There's really no words for it. There's just this feeling, like every fiber of your being tells you, and every fiber of my being was telling me that whatever was in the room was my Grandma Kingsley. And so while it was kind of weird, I was able to go back to sleep pretty comfortably. So we're gonna fast forward a few years. I was probably about 17 at the time, and we had a different house, and I had my own room in the basement all by itself, and I was fast asleep one night in my bed. So I'm sleeping, and suddenly I hear something whisper, "Danny." Same as last time, I'm a little groggy, I'm kind of trying to shake it off and figure out what's going on, and then it happens again. "Danny." My eyes are still closed, but I'm completely conscious. I'm just kind of scared to open them. And I'm laying there in the quiet, and it's dark, and then it happens again. Only this time, it was a little louder. "Danny." At this point, my eyes just shoot open, and I'm looking around. I'm trying to figure out what just happened, and there is nobody there. There was nobody in the entire basement. So as my mind is racing, trying to grapple what just happened, it occurred to me that it was really similar to the time that my bed got shook a few years ago. It was like prod, wait, and see what happens, and then do it again, but a little harder or a little louder. Only this time, it was something this close to my ear, whispering my name. And again, even though that's pretty freaky, something in my heart really told me that it wasn't something that I needed to be worried about, and that it was probably my Grandma Kingsley. And so when I went back to sleep, I didn't really feel like panic or terror, but I felt kind of loved. So it's been a few years since these incidents, and nothing has really happened that's like super crazy, but some activity has been picking up over the last couple weeks, ironically. Like some of my stuff will go missing for literally weeks at a time. I will not be able to find it anywhere, and then it'll just reappear in the spot where it should have been the whole time, like it never left. And it's usually my cosmetics, or like my lash glue or my tweezers, so it's not really something that Jacob would use. Especially my tweezers with his aggressive monobrow. And honestly, even at my parents' house, you'll just be hanging out there and suddenly there'll be like a cold spot, or you'll just get this waft of cigarette smoke, which is really weird because like nobody on my block even smokes, so it has no reason to be there. So there's like this persistent but benign force that's kind of just chilling out either here or at my parents' house, and I guess we're kind of cool, so it doesn't want to leave. Could it be Grandma Kingsley? Maybe. So in the months to follow this, if shit hits the fan again, I will definitely update you guys, so be sure to stay tuned for that. Alrighty guys, so that was one of my paranormal stories. I do have a couple more, so if you want to hear them, please let me know. All of my links to social media will be down below or after this video, so if you want to give me a follow, that'd be super cool. Also, if you have any scary stories, please put them in the comments because I would love to read that. I love scary stories. Indulge me in my creepy little ghost obsession. And as always, please subscribe. I would really appreciate it. You don't have to, but if you don't, I'll get my dead grandma to explode your car. Alrighty guys, I'll see you next week for more Halloween videos. Thanks for watching. Bye!